Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We were diving into a story that really proves the biggest security risks can hide in the absolute smallest details. We're talking about one single missing letter. So if you're a person who values efficiency, maybe you've, quickly copied a line of code into a terminal.
You've all done it.
Or maybe you're just really curious about how cyber criminals find their softest targets. This deep dive is definitely for you. We're looking at a case where one character error led to a massive, massive malware infection.
It's a textbook case, really. It's all about leveraging human behavior against high-risk activity.
High risk is the key phrase here.
Yeah, the whole attack hinged on finding a pool of users who were already taking shortcuts. In this case, people trying to activate software without going through the official channels.
And our sources zero in on a specific tool that was being targeted here. It's called Microsoft Activation Scripts, or MAS.
Yeah.
Now, this is an open source tool. It's basically just a collection of PowerShell scripts. And for anyone unfamiliar, it's used to automate the unauthorized activation of Windows and Office.
And that context is absolutely crucial. The MAS tool, it relies on methods like HWID activation or KMS emulation.
Which, in simple terms, means?
It means there are ways to trick Microsoft's licensing servers, to make them think the software is legit, but, and this is the important part, it requires the user to execute some very powerful, unverified remote code.
Right, so this isn't just some harmless app you click to install.
Not at all.
You are running command line instructions. You're pulling files from the internet and executing them with high privilege on your machine.
Yeah.
That is a huge leap of faith for the user.
Exactly. I mean, when you engage in that kind of activity, you're already operating in a legal gray area, and you are inherently trusting some external, unofficial source with administrator-level access to your system.
And that level of risk tolerance is exactly what these attackers were looking for.
It's the perfect target.
So our mission today is to really dissect the mechanics of this ridiculously simple attack. How one character got so many people infected with a pretty dangerous dual-threat payload.
Yeah.
And then we have to talk about the genuinely unbelievable twist.
Oh, yeah.
How the victims learned they were compromised, thanks to a researcher hijacking the attacker's own system.
It's a story where the operational security of the criminals was somehow even worse than the security practices of their victims. It's just amazing.
Okay, let's start with the setup, because this is where the precision of the attack really shines.
Yeah.
This is all about typosquatting. So the attackers weren't using some sophisticated exploit or breaking encryption. They were just, banking on human error.
Yeah.
Someone typing or copying code incorrectly.
And the mechanism relies entirely on the fact that when you execute remote code through PowerShell, the script is fetched and run instantly.
Instantly.
There's no, "Are you sure?" pop-up. There's no vetting process, no second chance. The legitimate domain that the instructions for MAS point to is a specific URL.
And the sources confirm that legitimate domain name, which users were supposed to use, was get.activated.win. Note that right there in the middle, activated.
Right. And the malicious copycat domain was incredibly close. Get.activate, no d.win.
It's just one letter.
One single letter. The entire attack hinged on users mistyping or, just carelessly omitting that one character. They bet that the combination of people moving quickly and the mental similarity of activate and activated would be enough.
And boy, did it work.
It really did.
Thousands of times, according to the research. Users who made this one tiny mistake, who fetched and ran the malicious script instead of the legitimate one, they immediately compromised their systems.
What's fascinating here is that we're not just talking about a passive infection. They targeted the exact moment of execution. When you run a script, you don't usually double-check the domain in the code line itself. You assume the source you copied it from is correct.
Right, you trust the instructions.
Yeah, and the speed of execution in a terminal environment makes that reliance on human error extremely effective.
It also speaks to the mindset, doesn't it? If you're already running an unauthorized activation script, you're probably trying to get it done quickly and just move on.
Of course.
You're not sitting there meticulously triple-checking the domain name character by character.
It creates a kind of compound vulnerability. You have the initial risk of running remote code, and then you couple that with the user's own impatience. That moment of rushing is precisely where the attacker strikes.
And the payoff for them was immediate and severe. So, okay, the user makes this one tiny typo, hits enter, and instead of a happy Windows activation screen, they get hit with a serious payload. The sources identify the infection as the Cosmali Loader malware.
Mm.
What exactly is the Cosmali Loader? Why is this so much worse than, say, simple adware?
So the Cosmali Loader is a multi-stage infection tool. This was confirmed by the researcher Russian Panda. It's not just one piece of software. It's designed to get a foothold on the system and then deliver heavier, more persistent threats.
Okay, so it's doorway.
It's a doorway, exactly. And what came through that door was a 1-2 punch.
What was the first threat delivered?
The first payload was crypto mining utilities.
The resource hogs.
Exactly. They run silently in the background, just eating up your CPU and your electricity to generate cryptocurrency for the attackers. It'll slow your system way down, but it can be really hard to pinpoint the source.
Okay, so that's punch one,
Yeah.
and the second punch, that's usually the one that keeps security pros up at night.
Absolutely. The second payload was the XWorm Remote Access Trojan, or RAT.
And we have to clarify what that means for people. RAT is.
It's software that creates a persistent, covert channel for unauthorized remote access. It essentially gives the attacker the keys to the kingdom. They can watch your screen, log your keystrokes, steal your files, deploy even more malware later.
So, because of one missing letter, these users weren't just mining crypto on the side.
Oh, no.
The attackers had full, persistent control over the infected machine. So user data, banking details, everything that machine touches is now potentially compromised.
That's the real danger here. You invite a Trojan that offers maximum control over your machine, all because a domain name was missing a single D.
Now, this is the part of the story that moved this from just a standard cybersecurity report into something.
Yeah.
Something else, something fascinating.
Yeah, this is the twist.
Victims started realizing they were infected in the most bizarre way possible. They started getting pop-up warnings directly from the malware itself.
The reports from victims on Reddit and other forums were just incredible. They were getting these messages that literally identified the cause of their infection. It was acting like a digital doctor diagnosing the exact moment they got sick.
The message was so specific. It warned them about the Cosmali Loader infection. No mincing words. It pointed out their exact error, that they had mistyped get.activate.win as get.activate.win.
And it was almost taunting in its detail. It even told users to go check their task manager for weird PowerShell processes to prove the infection was real.
But then it dropped the most telling line. It warned that, and I'm quoting here, the malware's panel is insecure and everyone viewing it has access to your computer.
Which is just, wow.
Yeah. This raises an important question, and our sources strongly indicate the answer. Who on earth sent this warning? It certainly wasn't the people who deploy the XWorm RAT suddenly growing a conscience.
No, it wasn't the original attackers. The research suggests the highly probable scenario is that a well-intended security researcher, or maybe a white hat hacker, found and gained access to the malware's control panel.
Just think about the operational security failure there.
It's staggering.
These criminals were sophisticated enough to set up this whole typosquatting campaign, deploy multi-stage malware, but they were running their entire operation through a command and control panel that was just open, unsecured.
Sure that someone else could just log in.
And not only could they log in,
Right, not only could the researcher log in, but they could use the existing command structure of the C2 panel to push messages directly to all the compromised victims. They weaponized the attacker's own faulty infrastructure against them.
that is a level of irony you rarely see.
It really is.
It's the digital equivalent of a bank robber leaving the vault door wide open and a police officer walking in and using the robber's intercom to announce, "Hey, everyone inside, you're being robbed."
It underscores a crucial point about the cybercrime ecosystem. A lot of these operations are not run by meticulous state-sponsored groups. They're often hurried, poorly maintained, and prone to these catastrophic operational security failures, like forgetting to password protect the panel that controls thousands of infected computers.
So the victims, who made a mistake running a script in the first place, ended up getting warned about their infection by an ethical hacker who just walked in through the criminal's own back door.
It's a remarkable piece of counterintervention, but it also highlights just how vulnerable those systems were. I mean, if a well-intended researcher could use that open panel to send alerts.
Imagine what someone else could do.
Imagine the potential damage if a competing criminal group had found that panel first.
That's a chilling thought. If the panel is accessible, another threat actor could just seize control of the whole network, overwrite the payloads, steal all the existing victim data. The initial Cosmali attack suddenly becomes a secondary problem.
Exactly. The first criminal group essentially built a perfect network of compromised machines and then just handed the keys to the kingdom to anyone who happened to find their insecure login page.
So, setting aside the researchers' heroic intervention, this whole incident provides some critical, practical takeaways for you, the listener, whether you ever touch a PowerShell script or not, because the core vulnerability here applies to everyone.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this scenario perfectly illustrates how security collapses at that intersection of powerful tools and, well, fundamental human impatience. The MAS maintainers themselves had to issue public warnings urging users to drastically check their commands.
And here's where it gets really important. These security recommendations are universal best practices against remote code execution, or RCE in typosquatting. RCE, for anyone unfamiliar, is just making your computer run code that lives somewhere else, usually on a server on the internet.
And first and foremost, you have to avoid executing remote code if you do not fully understand every single line of what it does and where it comes from. That simple command line is effectively giving full root privileges to that source domain.
And what if curiosity gets the better of you? Or if you absolutely must test a script from an unverified source?
Well, the consensus from security experts is clear. Always test that code in a sandbox environment first.
A sandbox being like a digital playpen.
Pretty much. It's an isolated environment like a virtual machine that mimics your main operating system but is completely walled off. If the script turns out to be malicious, it only infects the sandbox, not the system where you keep all your critical personal and professional data.
And crucially, this incident just screams the importance of precision. Typosquatting relies on people rushing or retyping commands. That missing trojan was a multi-million-dollar mistake for the victims.
Absolutely. Always copy and paste the correct verified command string from a trusted source. Don't retype it. The momentary effort you save by rushing is just. It's never worth the cost of installing an XWorm RAT.
Especially when you're already seeking shortcuts by using unauthorized software in the first place.
The risk is compounded.
Ultimately, this whole scenario just confirms that security is often less about technology and more about decision-making. Users who consciously choose unauthorized tools to save time or money are inherently raising their own profile as vulnerable targets.
When you move into that unauthorized zone, you lose all the implicit safety nets that legitimate software provides. And as we've seen, that risk can manifest as cryptominers stealing your resources and high-level RATs taking control of your device, all because of one single character typo.
So the key takeaway we extracted from the sources is clear. A single missing letter in a domain name delivered the Cosmali Loader, dropping both a resource-sapping cryptominer and the dangerous XWorm RAT.
But the truly strange development was that researcher pushed notification warning victims through the attacker's own shockingly insecure command and control panel.
It's the ultimate cautionary tale about operational security. The criminal group was sophisticated enough to deploy this modern multi-stage malware.
Yet their infrastructure was so flimsy that it allowed an outsider to turn their control system into a public service announcement channel.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. If an ethical researcher could use the malware's control panel to warn victims about their infection, what is the fate of all those compromised machines now?
Good question.
Does the original criminal group still control them? Or has that insecure infrastructure now become a hotly contested battlefield between multiple threat actors, all vying for control over that massive network of infected computers? Something to think about the next time you decide to execute an unverified script.